to balance as far as us getting justice and the help we need, the victims and survivors, because we're not getting the help that we need. We're getting what would you call it? Like I say, a Band-Aid, and you pull it off, it's still there.
It's not so much as that women not being believed is a small part of domestic violence. That there are some who do not believe that domestic violence happens. The bigger picture is a lot of people don't know what to do if they're confronted with someone who's telling them that they've been abused. So it's two-way. So we don't want to just say it's one way and it's not. It's twofold.
Right.
There are some who are not believed, and then there are some who may be believed, but unfortunately the people that they go to, they don't know what to do.
Okay. Wait a minute, let me interject one more thing. And then there's some that don't believe they're going through domestic violence that's going through it. It takes you a while to know that you're going through it.
Correct.
So yes.
Okay, to the friends of someone who's dealing with domestic violence, what are some signs that they should kind of look at to see that this young lady, or we have some men, are going through domestic violence? Because they may not want to say it, but you can kind of look at them and see some symptoms that they are going through domestic violence in their life.
Correct. One of the biggest symptoms is if someone has been outgoing their entire lives, if they've become an introvert, that's a sign.
Okay.
They've isolated themselves from family and or friends. That's another sign, especially if they're in that type of relationship, because isolation is a big portion of it. If the way they dress has changed, if they dress a certain way and now all of a sudden they dress a different way, that's a sign. If they're out with their friends and they're constantly getting text messages or phone calls, what time are you coming home? Who are you with? Things of that nature. That's another sign. So there are some signs that, unfortunately, without the proper education, people don't know what to look for.
Or some of us don't know that we're going through it, because it's a slow grooming of the victim before the actual, unless it's physical, then it's a whole different story.
Okay.
But it's a slow grooming, like nobody's good enough like friends, family, what she said, isolation. They began to be separated from everybody, and they're just at that abuser's beck and call and at his will, no matter what, he or she, because men go through it as well.
Okay, when that abuser says, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it again, please forgive. Why do a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to give you another chance, you're going to change? Why should they kind of get that out of their mind about changing that individual?
It's not easy to get that out of their mind. They go through like a honeymoon stage where everything is fine.
Yes. Yes.
It's like the quiet after the storm, per se. The victim wants to believe that the abuser is sorry.
Correct.
The victim wants to believe that the abuser loves her or him. The victim wants to believe that this will never happen again. The victim also wants to believe that I can change this person if only I do right. So it's very difficult to get past that honeymoon stage. It actually takes, statistically, 7 to 8 times before a victim of domestic violence finally leaves a relationship.
Okay.
So they go through that. They believe everything that, unfortunately, the abuser tells them.
And then they have their children to think about as well. They're like, okay, well, maybe we can work this out for the sake of the children. You know, it's a whole host of things they go through. Some are scared to live on their own because they're not financially stable.
Correct.
You know, and they cannot see how to make it without that abuser per se. You know, it's a whole host of things that'll keep them believing in that abuser.
For each one of you, how long did you stay in that relationship? And what was the point that made you leave? What was the situation that came about that you said, okay, this is it, I'm going to leave?
That's an excellent question.
For myself, with domestic violence being a very sensitive topic,
Yes, ma'am.
it took me about 8 times to leave my ex-husband. I was married to my abuser, and I just felt that one day one of us was not going to make it out of our home alive. And I knew I had to leave then because I had to protect myself. And so after 12 years of marriage, I finally left.
12 years for me. 14 years. I was with my abuser. And he wasn't quite physically abusive to the end when I was ready to leave him. He was always verbally, emotionally, financial isolation. So I never, for a minute, I did not even know I was being groomed. It took a family member to come and assess the situation to wake me up because I just thought that I was being a good, you know, a good partner, a good, you know. And then I had my child, so I definitely wanted to be worked out because, you know, like our culture, we're always single women. You know, when you got a mate, you think it's like great to raise up your child with a mate, you know.
Right.
And I finally got up to mustered it up when my aunt told me that you don't even know you're being groomed. I'm like, what are you talking about? And when I finally got the gist of it, I made him pack his bags and leave.
Okay.
But then I let him come back. And when I let him come back, that was a no-no. He beat me then. I knew I had to leave because he did it in front of our child, right at the door. My son saved my life.
I know in today's society we see a lot of ladies who are running close on time. What advice would you give our viewing audience who are dealing with domestic violence? What kind of advice?
The best advice that I would give another woman and or man is get help. Get out of it. It's not worth staying. And if you don't know where to go, they can always call the national hotline, which is 1-800-799-SAFE, and get somewhere safe. Let a family member know. Let a friend know. But when you leave, go somewhere where the abuser does not know you're going. Because then the abuse takes on a whole nother level, which turns to stalking.
Thank you, Zion.
Thank you.
And Don Evans
Thank you.
for coming on the show, and I look forward to having you come back and talk some more about domestic violence issues.
Thank you for
so
having
much
us.
for
Thank you,
having
ladies and
us.
gentlemen, for watching the show. You be encouraged. Thank you.